Hello everyone, this is TL Branson, and you're watching the first booktube video for YA Fantasy Addicts, the Facebook group, and this is my first video, really ever, my first book video that I'm doing, so please bear with me. It may not be as polished or as professional as some other booktubes that you've watched, but I'm hoping to do some more of these and to make them more exciting and to be able to share them in the group, and so here we are, and this is the debut video. So today I'm going to be talking about Truthwitch. I just finished this book here in the past couple of minutes, really. Just wrote up my review and posted it online, and I shared that in the group, but I wanted to share my thoughts here with you via video as well. So let's just go ahead and jump straight into it. I posted in the group about 2 months ago when I started reading this. Yeah, it took me 2 months to read it, but that's because other things had popped up and come up. A few of you had different thoughts and expressions on this book and how you couldn't get into it, and so I'm here to share my thoughts on this. And really, I should start off by saying that a couple of you told me that originally this book had been marketed or had been written as an adult fantasy book, a mainstream fantasy book, kind of like Brandon Sanderson, George R.R. Martin, Patrick Rothfuss, things like that, people who are in mainstream fantasy there. And so as such, it follows a lot of the molds that a adult mainstream fantasy follows, and namely, it's very slow to start. There's a lot of world building. It's almost kind of info dumpy, and so it's pretty slow to get going there. But it is, I mean, it's been marketed as a YA novel, and so apparently what happened is it was given to a YA editor who put it in as a YA book, and even though it really should have been adult fantasy. So that could explain a lot of why a couple of you have had reservations. It didn't fit the mold of what you were expecting. But let's go ahead and talk about the book. So right off the bat, the cover here, I absolutely love this cover. So I'm a big sucker for covers. I'm a graphic designer, or at least I went to school as a graphic designer. It didn't end up being what I ended up doing, but I still do a lot of graphic design, and I have an eye as a graphic designer. So I really love this cover. It's super exciting. As a matter of fact, all the covers in the series are beautiful and gorgeous. The newest cover for Blood Witch is awesome. I saw that, and really seeing the cover for Blood Witch is what made me go and pick up Truthwitch in the end. Now, I've had my eye on this book for a little while now, and so it's not like I wasn't interested in it. As a matter of fact, the concept's pretty interesting. The whole idea of somebody who can tell the difference between a truth and a lie, and that being a magical power and that sort of a thing, it piqued my interest. And so I really did pick this book up, mainly from the cover alone and also from the title. Didn't really care what the book was about, per se. That's why it took me about 1.5 to 2 years to even start reading it since it came out. But I did end up picking it up, and I'm glad I did, because I really enjoyed this book. So the start of the book, as I already mentioned, is really slow. I'd say the first 20% of the book, I almost put it down. I almost gave up on it. But I really don't give up on books very much. If I start a book, I'm willing to at least go, I tell myself, to at least 100 pages, maybe to 150 pages in. And if I'm still not into it by then to me, it's really not worth reading a book that I'm not interested in. But I will always give it the first 100 pages, because I realize that sometimes it's just difficult to get into a book. Sometimes you have to get through all of the really learning who the places are and the names of the people are, and being able to figure everything out. And so, yes, it can be a little slow at first if you don't have any clue what's going on. And so I usually try to give books a benefit of the doubt. And I'm glad I did with Truthwitch, because after about the 20% mark, things really picked up. This story is basically your classic, is sort of an escape type story. The main character, her name is Safi, and she is on the run from people who are pursuing her. So she's a truth witch, which, surprise, surprise, she's a truth witch. She's the only truth witch known in existence. And as a matter of fact, only 5 people know about her. And the premise of the book is that if the Truthwitch were to be found, then her power alone would change the course of history, would change the world, that the person who owns the Truthwitch can be the ruler and that sort of a thing. And personally, just going to be honest, I feel that that's a bit of a stretch. I don't see how the ability to tell the difference between a lie and a truth can rule the world. There's one character in her name is Vanessa. Like Vanessa without an A at the end, Vanessa. And she is an iron witch. And she basically can mold iron and metal and do whatever she wants. It reminds me of Victoria Aveyard's Red Queen series and how there are people that can move metal. Well, anyway, this iron witch, she can basically put on like a metal collar, an iron collar on somebody, and with just the flick of her wrist or, a thought or whatever, she can tighten that iron and kill the person and choke them. And so she puts these iron collars on people to basically force them into submission and what have you. And I think that's a much more powerful skill to be a ruler if you want to force people to do your will, rather than being able to tell the difference between a truth and a lie. But whatever, I'm willing to give Susan Dennard the benefit of the doubt that in the future books it will become apparent how Safi's power will be able to change the world. And so I'm willing to set that reservation aside for right now. But anyway, she is pursued because, surprise, surprise, they figure out she's a truth witch and now everybody wants her. And so she's on the run. 60% of the book or more is her running away from these pursuers. And there's a couple of pursuers. There's firstly the entire fleet or armada of the Marstock people. I think that's how you pronounce it. Forgive me if I butcher names or pronunciations, but the Marstocks are fire witches mostly. They have a lot of fire witches, so they can control fire and all that. I mean, I'm sure it pretty much makes sense what they can do. And their whole people are chasing after her. And then there are... I don't even remember the name of the people. There's so many names in this book, and that's probably why people have a hard time getting into it. But the Emperor, whoever the main Emperor is, after the Truth Witch. And then I should mention that early on in the book, Safi becomes betrothed to him. So she's basically the future empress and things like that. So of course, and she doesn't want to be his wife, mind you. And so he is chasing after her. And then there's Aduin. I believe that's how you pronounce his name, Aduin. He is a blood witch. And he's the guy on the cover of Blood Witch, I imagine. And he's got interesting powers, so he can smell anybody's blood and he can chase them from any distance. The closer they are, the easier it is, but once he gets your scent, he can find you. And he also, as a Blood Witch, has healing properties. So if he gets injured, his injury will heal no matter how dangerous the injury is, minus being your head being cut off. That's the only thing that he can't survive from, basically. And so it's a pretty interesting power, but he's kind of one of the main bad guys in the book because he's chasing after Safi and trying to find her. He's trying to find her sort of for the Emperor. He's taken a contract to do that for the Emperor, but you discover through his internal thoughts that he's really doing it for his father, who remains off page. We know nothing about his father. His father seems like a pretty bad and evil dude. We have no idea what's going on. But Aduin feels that he has to do this for his father, and it's a big mystery who he is. We still don't even figure it out in Truthwitch. And so he's hunting her down for him. So there's a couple of people that are pursuing her, that want to use her. There's some other threads going on as well, mainly around Safi's friend Iseult. I think that's how I don't know. Forgive me on the name pronunciations. But Iseult is Safi's best friend. And she is a thread witch. She can see other people's being and who they are and their threads. She can tell their emotions because of the threads, and she can see how things work and all of that. Well, she is what they call a nomatsi, and nomatsis are these despised, despicable people. Why, I have no idea. I don't really remember. They're kind of the butt of all of the racism comments. Nobody likes the nomatsis. They see her hair, they see her face, they freak out and they say Matsi scum, and they cross their fingers or whatever, and they don't want to have anything to do with her. This seems kind of pointless in this book. Maybe it becomes relevant in future books. But anyway, Iseult, she is a really, really powerful thread witch, though she doesn't know it. And there's somebody called the Puppeteer, who everybody fears, the Puppeteer, and she has some sort of connection to Iseult. Again, we're not really sure how it all plays out, but it's very interesting to see that she's got hidden potential. I'm excited to see where they go moving forward with that storyline. But Safi and Iseult are best friends. They're inseparable. They'll do anything for each other. They love each other, as best friends would. I don't believe there's any romantic relationship going on there between them, but they are best friends, and they love each other, and so they'll stick together through everything. And then there's Merrick. I really like Merrick. Merrick is a prince. He's kind of your stereotypical character. He's a prince. He's also an admiral of the fleet of New Brevna. And New Brevna is a dying nation. If they don't get any help soon, the whole people's going to be wiped out. So Merrick is totally dedicated to helping his people and finding a way to solve their problems. Merrick is a wind witch, and he agrees to take Safi to safety in order to gain an alliance with Safi's family, and to be able to get open trade between them so that his people can survive. Safi and Merrick go at it for quite a bit. Many times in the book they argue, they bicker, but there's some romantic tension there that I see anyway. Not a lot happens in this book. Sorry if that's a bit of a spoiler, but it's one thing that you can look forward to, that it will likely develop in future books. So if you like romance subplots, it's pretty typical, so I don't think it's a spoiler to tell you what I told you. Pretty typical in books with romance subplots that there's going to be tension between the characters, and that tension will hopefully eventually sort of let go, and they'll be able to move forward in their relationship. And that subplot is here in Truthwitch as well. So if you like that sort of a subplot, you'll really like it in Truthwitch, and you can keep an eye out for that. I really can't say much else about the book without spoiling what goes on and what happens. The important things, there's really some interesting things that are going on in this book, specifically concerning Safi and Iseult and the world around them, and also concerning this puppeteer and a bunch of other people that are going on. Merrick and the relations there, Vanessa, the Iron Witch that I mentioned. There's really there's tons of threads going. And there's so many things going on in the background. It's really exciting, and I'm excited to see where they move forward. I've already got Wind Witch. Let me see if I've got it here. I got it from the library, so the Truthwitch is mine. I bought it, but I got Wind Witch from the library, so I've already got it here, and I'm excited to get started on this. I'll probably start on it this evening. But if you have been holding out on reading Truthwitch because you've heard that it's slow or it's boring, or if you gave up on it too soon, you gave up on it in that 20% mark, I implore you to give it another try. It really is a fantastic book. Once you get past that first 20%, the story flows amazingly, and the action is so intense and so exciting. I really couldn't put it down after I picked the book back up again. Now, the reason why it took me 2 months to read the book was not because of how slow the opening was. As a matter of fact, I got past the slow opening relatively early on, very quickly in the story. Rather, I got an arc of Kingdom of Copper, I think is what it was. I got an arc of Kingdom of Copper. I hadn't read City of Brass yet, and so I had to stop and do everything to read City of Brass so I could read Kingdom of Copper, because the book came out a week later after I got the arc. And both of those books are like 600 pages, so it took me a while to read them. And then I got an arc of The Steel Assassin from Terry Brooks, and I hadn't read the first 2 books in that series either, but I'd been interested in his books, so I applied for the arc, and when I got it, it was like, oh, I have to read these books now. So I went and I read The Black Elf Stone, and I read The Scar Invasion, and then I read The Steel Assassin. Those are adult books. You might be interested in them even so. They were great books, enjoyable books. There were young characters in it, so I mean, if that's why you read YA for young characters, then go ahead and read it. But the reviews of those are up on my blog. All 5 of those books, the reviews are up on my blog. So I read all 5 of those before I picked Truthwitch up again. So that's why it took me a while to read it. Not because I wasn't interested in it anymore, just because other things kind of took priority. But otherwise, I probably would have finished Truthwitch in about a week, which is average for me. And Again, I really enjoyed it, and I'm picking up Truthwitch tonight. I'm going to start it right away. It's not like I'm holding. So there's nothing for me to say to you, oh, well, if I get to the next book, fine. I'm starting it right now. So I hope you'll give it a chance, and thanks for watching. This has been YA Fantasy Addicts' first booktube video, and I'm TL Branson, your founder and your admin of the group, and hopefully we'll have more videos. Maybe I can talk some of the other sponsoring authors to do booktube videos and put it up on the channel. We'll see how that goes, and let me know if there's anything that you're specifically looking for. Maybe there's a book you'd like me to review. Maybe there's a type of booktube video you'd like me to do. Again, this is all new to me. I have no idea what I'm doing. So help me out. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you'd find enjoyable to watch, and I'll try to do it. Right? Signing off.